Hello friends! Today, we'll be talking about a legend that has fueled humanity's fears, curiosity, and imagination for centuries. Dracula. This bloodthirsty dark town stepped out from the pages of real history and was immortalized by Bram Stoker's novels. But what are the truths behind this legend? Who was Vlad III, known as Vlad the Impaler? How did this man, who once struck fear into the hearts of the Ottomans, become the world's most famous vampire? In this video, we delve into everything from Dracula's historical origins to his place in popular culture and the terrifying truths behind vampire mythology. Are you ready? Then let's embark on a journey through the mysterious corridors of dark castles. Vlad III was born in 1431 in Transylvania, present-day Romania. His father, Vlad II Dracula, was the voivode of Wallachia. The family belonged to the House of Draculesti. Vlad II, known as Dracula, was awarded the Order of the Dragon in 1431 by Holy Roman Emperor Sigismund. This order symbolized Christian unity against the Ottomans and is said to have greatly influenced the formation of the Draculesti dynasty. Vlad's nickname Dracula derives from this meaning, son of Dracula. Contrary to common belief, this title wasn't exclusive to Vlad III. It was used for all of Dracula's children. The moniker the Impaler came much later, coined by the people due to his brutal methods of punishment. Vlad's childhood unfolded under the shadow of wars, political intrigue, and Ottoman pressure. His father was forced to maintain delicate diplomatic relations with both the Kingdom of Hungary and the Ottoman Empire. Hostage to the Ottomans, 1442. In 1442, to prove his loyalty to the Ottoman Empire and guarantee he wouldn't rebel, Vlad's father handed over his two sons, Vlad III, around 11 years old, and his younger brother Radu, as hostages to the Ottomans. This kind of hostage arrangement was a common practice in the Ottoman system. The children of vassal states or allied principalities would be kept at the imperial court. On one hand, this ensured political obedience, and on the other, these children were raised under Ottoman discipline to become future leaders sympathetic to the empire. Thus began a 6-year period in Vlad's life that would shape him and the legends surrounding him forever. Some sources claim he lived in the palace at Manisa, but it is more likely he stayed in the Edirne Palace. The strongest argument for this is that he was a childhood acquaintance of Sultan Mehmed II. In fact, there are events that support this connection. Until Vlad declared war on the Ottomans, Sultan Mehmed had always supported him. Like an Ottoman prince, Vlad received an elite education in Islamic sciences, languages, diplomacy, history, and military strategy. He was also trained in Ottoman martial arts, horsemanship, and archery. Though Vlad benefited from this education, he never embraced his time in the Ottoman Empire. His anger toward the Ottomans and the resentment born from being held against his will became foundational elements of his personality. His brother Radu, on the other hand, was more accepting of Ottoman influence and later served as an Ottoman-backed ruler of Wallachia, just like Vlad. Now, let's take a look at how Vlad became known as Vlad the Impaler before diving into the Dracula legend. Vlad's journey to ruling Wallachia was far from easy. Over the years, he fought for the throne multiple times, sometimes with Ottoman support, other times by allying with the Kingdom of Hungary. In 1456, he ascended to the Wallachian throne for the second time, this time with the support of the Hungarian King Hunyadi. Once in power, Vlad refused to submit to the Ottomans. The Ottoman Empire demanded annual tribute from Wallachia. Although Vlad initially paid the tax, he later rebelled. In 1461, he openly renounced his loyalty to Sultan Mehmed II. This marked the beginning of open war with the Ottomans. The Night Attack, 1462, Campaign of Targovist. The most famous clash between Vlad and Mehmed II took place in 1462. To crush Vlad's rebellion, the Ottomans launched a major military campaign into Wallachia. Vlad launched a surprise night raid on Mehmed's encampment, targeting the Sultan himself. Although he failed to reach the Sultan, he inflicted heavy losses and instilled fear in the Ottoman army. After recovering from the shock, the Ottoman forces pushed forward, and what they encountered gave rise to Vlad's infamous title. When Sultan Mehmed and his army reached the Wallachian capital, Targovist, they were met with one of Vlad's most horrifying displays. Vlad had impaled around 20,000 Ottoman soldiers and supporters, lining the roads with their bodies. The scene had a profound effect on Sultan Mehmed. According to some sources, he remarked, "If this man can do such things to his own people, what wouldn't he do to his enemies?" This was the moment Vlad earned his enduring title, Vlad the Impaler, Vlad Tepes, and his reputation reached its peak. Despite all the brutality, Vlad's forces were defeated by the Ottomans, and he fled to Hungary. He sought aid from King Matthias Corvinus, but the king refused and had Vlad imprisoned. He remained a captive for 12 years. Eventually, after establishing good relations with the Hungarian crown, he was released in 1474. Vlad returned to his homeland with plans to reclaim the Wallachian throne and was once again declared voivode. That same year, he fought the Ottomans again, but this time, he couldn't escape. He was killed in battle. After his death, his head was sent to Istanbul by the Ottomans, preserved in a jar of honey for display. The fact that Vlad's skull was never recovered supports the accuracy of this account. Now that we've covered the historical background, let's talk about how Vlad transformed into Dracula in literature. Bram Stoker's Dracula, written in 1897, is one of the most important works of Gothic literature and laid the foundation for the modern vampire mythos. But why did Stoker write such a novel? Why did he choose the name Dracula? And how much of it is actually based on Vlad the Impaler? Let's take a closer look. The plot of the book, in short. A young English solicitor named Jonathan Harker travels to Transylvania to assist Count Dracula with a real estate transaction. At his mysterious castle, Harker meets the Count, who has no reflection, avoids daylight, and possesses strange powers. When Dracula imprisons him and offers him to 3 vampire women as prey, Harker realizes the terrifying truth. Dracula plans to move to London in search of new victims. And so, the story begins. One feature that set the novel apart at the time was its unique structure. It was written in the form of letters, diaries, and newspaper clippings, a technique known as the epistolary novel. During the Victorian era, the public in England had a strong fascination with the supernatural, dark mysticism, and the exoticism of Eastern Europe. In the 1890s, there were many tales, rumors, and folkloric stories circulating in the West about Transylvania and Eastern Europe. Stoker built the theme of Dracula around the West sphere of the East. As a well-connected figure in literary and theatrical circles, Stoker wanted to contribute to Gothic literature and create a truly unique character. By exploring themes such as fear, sexuality, death, and immortality, he both captivated readers and mirrored the moral anxieties of his time. Core themes: blood as a life force connection, the transformation of women from virgins to vampires, the West sphere of the East, the clash between science and the supernatural. While writing Dracula, Stoker studied the histories of Transylvania and Wallachia. Among the resources he found in the British Library were brief but impactful accounts of Vlad III. He discovered the name Dracula in a source, defined as son of the dragon or son of the devil, and was so influenced that he named his character accordingly. In fact, in early drafts, the character's name was Count Wamper. Stoker also heard stories about Vlad from Hungarian historian Arminius Fambry, a Turkologist and expert on the Ottoman Empire. Fambry described the brutal acts of the Impaler prince from Ottoman sources. Stoker was so affected that he jotted notes like, "A prince in Transylvania who impaled Turks, legends of drinking blood." Interestingly, Vlad is never mentioned by name in the novel, but Count Dracula is described as a great warrior who fought against the Turks and impaled his enemies, a clear nod to Vlad. Early in the book, Dracula even tells Jonathan, "We, the Draculas, have waged war against the Turks for centuries. I have slain thousands with my own hands." Although Stoker seems to portray Vlad in a glorified manner, the novel also serves as a deep critique of the Victorian era. Dracula's attacks on women reflect the sexual taboos of Victorian society. The perceived threat of the Ottoman Empire in Eastern Europe is symbolized through the vampire metaphor. Some scholars even interpret the theme of immortality as a critique of death itself. But what if I told you that, despite this immortal masterpiece, Stoker never saw the financial success he had hoped for? Yes, it's true, Dracula did not earn Stoker enough to make a living. It wasn't until after his death that the novel gained widespread popularity, mostly thanks to its film adaptations. His family, particularly his son and later his grandchildren, continued to profit from the rights, perhaps the greatest legacy Stoker left them. Now let's turn briefly to popular culture before we wrap up the video. There have been so many film, documentary, and TV adaptations of Dracula that it's impossible to fit them all into a single video. Dracula has been adapted countless times for the stage as both classical theater and musical performances. It has been performed on Broadway, London's West End, and all over Europe in Gothic operas and rock musicals. In fact, the stage and musical adaptations alone could fill an entire video, so here, we'll focus on a few key film and series recommendations. Let's start with Nosferatu, 1922, the first and unofficial film adaptation. Stoker's widow, Florence, sued the filmmakers, claiming the movie was an unauthorized version of Dracula. In 1925, the court ruled that all copies of the film be destroyed, but some were hidden and survived. Today's versions are restored from those surviving reels. In fact, an original scene showed Orlok, the Dracula figure, arriving by ship from Istanbul, a detail discovered in a restored copy from the 1990s. Who knows, maybe in another 10 years, we'll uncover even more scenes. Next, we have the 1931 Universal Pictures film Dracula, the first official adaptation. Bela Lugosi's hypnotic stare, black cape, elegant suit, and iconic line "I am Dracula" became a timeless cinematic image. This version went on to define the visual style of Dracula in nearly all future adaptations. As a final film recommendation, consider Horror of Dracula, 1958, a landmark of Gothic horror cinema. Starring Christopher Lee, this version emphasized a wilder, more sexually threatening Dracula, setting a new tone for the character. More recently, the 2020 Dracula series by BBC and Netflix deserves a mention for its respectful yet modern take on the novel. It's not a direct adaptation, but a reimagining that presents Dracula as a more intellectual figure. With just 3 episodes, it's a binge-worthy show crafted by none other than Mark Gatiss and Stephen Moffat. And of course, we must mention the anime Castlevania. While its style may not appeal to everyone, Dracula is portrayed as a tragic figure who has lost faith in humanity during the Middle Ages. It directly references Vlad Tepes and should arguably be one of the first adaptations to watch, right after Nosferatu, of course. And there you have it, dear viewers, the end of this fascinating journey from history's most terrifying voivode Vlad Tepes to Bram Stoker's literary vampire count who shook the world of fiction. As you've seen, the line between reality and legend can sometimes stretch as wide as a dragon's wings. Vlad's stakes and Dracula's fangs continue to leave their mark on both history books and pop culture. So, what do you think? Is this legend the product of a ruler's brutality or a reflection of humanity's darkest fears? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoy deep dives like this, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, no need to drain our blood. See you in the next video. And remember, the darkness is always waiting.